welcome to Viewpoint from Overseas. This is your host, Ms. Azam. I have with me Mr. Riyaz and Ali Samantur on the Sky. Today we are going to discuss predominantly three topics. First of all, the Panama verdict. It is a Panama paper leak came out last year sometime, and the Prime Minister of Pakistan and his family was brought into it, and they were having some sort of investigation. Then things went into the Supreme Court, and today the verdict was announced. 5 judges, they basically disqualified Prime Minister of Pakistan so far, and the other cases, all the corruption issues and all that, they just sent it to the NAB for the further investigation on that. Then we will talk about the turmoil in White House nowadays, all those things. Some people are resigning, some people are fired, and this is going on over there for quite some time. So I will ask Riyaz and Ali Samantur about that. Last but not least, recently India's Vice Chief of Staff, General Sarath Chand, he kind of claimed that Pakistan's military industry, military hardware and military capabilities are much better than India in some ways. So Riyaz, if Ali allow me, I will start from Riyaz. Tell me about, just please explain our audience that what was this Panama verdict and what happened and how you see the whole thing came out.
So as some of you know, we've been following this on this show for some time. First there was a 5-judge panel that was set up to look into it, and then at the end of it, 2 of the 5 judges voted to disqualify Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, while the other 3 judges said they needed further investigation to find out what happened. So as a result of that, there was this 3-judge panel that set up a joint investigation team that included representatives of the FIA. Actually, it was headed by an FIA director, and then there were members of it from the State Bank of Pakistan, the Securities and Exchange Commission. There were members from the ISI and also from the State Bank, and they investigated. They submitted their report. That report was submitted, I think, about a week ago. After hearing their report, the discussion on it, they heard both sides, Nawaz Sharif's team as well as the JIT, report preparers. And at the end of it, they reserved their judgment, and Friday at about 11:30 local time in Islamabad, they delivered their verdict, and their verdict is to disqualify. And this is a unanimous 5-judge verdict to disqualify Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. So as a result of it, the Prime Minister has stepped down, and now they're going to replace him in the interim with somebody until they have a more permanent replacement for him.
Ali, how you see that thing? There are a lot of controversies coming about, and on the media there are some very top-notch lawyers talk about the way he was disqualified, not on corruption, not on papers, but those were all sent to NAB. Second thing is that second controversy, which is a lot of supporters also, I heard them saying that Supreme Court has put a judge over the NAB to watch it. How you see that?
Yeah, so this is exactly what my point is, that in this verdict, I mean, if Nawaz Sharif was involved in any kind of corruption, what needed to be proved was that this is how this money was taken from the government of Pakistan, and this is how it went to his own account. That was never proven. What is at right now, the whole thing is about that how did he have this much money in the offshore accounts? Where did it come from? So basically, it is not a direct thing about corruption. It's like oh, you have so much money, you know, and also your children have so much money invested in these offshore companies which bought all these property in London, and you cannot prove where this money came from. Therefore, you know, we disqualify you. This is a strange kind of a thing that has happened, but you know, people are saying that this was done under a lot of pressure from other forces, you know, and people are, at one point they're talking about the pressure, not, you know, at the street level, the pressure from the PDI supporters, but also that behind the scenes there was also pressure from people in the establishment. So that's why this whole thing is so murky that it's very hard to tell about, you know, to celebrating this kind of verdict.
Riyaz, how you comment on Ali's points?
Yeah, I think in a lot of countries, I'm not certain about the laws in Pakistan, but in a lot of countries, including the United States and Great Britain and other countries, there are money laundering laws in which if they find somebody with a large amount of money that they cannot explain the source of,
they have to prove.
Then they have to prove. The onus is on the accused to show the money trail, to show where it came from. It's not on the prosecution.
Just like in England, what happened with Altaf Hussain, actually.
Yeah, I mean, in the Altaf Hussain's case, they didn't pursue it. Yeah. But in the United States, it happens all the time. In fact, they have the power to take away that money and to convict the people of money laundering if they cannot explain the source of that money. So this is kind of similar. They gave up plenty of opportunity to Nawaz Sharif and his team to explain where the money came from, and they weren't able to. But right now, the conviction is for their failure to disclose the position that Nawaz Sharif had, and there was salary with it, which he says he didn't draw, in a company, in an offshore company called FZE Capital, which is located.
It is FZE. It is not the offshore company. That's what my understanding.
It's located in
a free zone. Yeah.
In Dubai.
That's
it's not in Pakistan. So in that sense, it's offshore. So they couldn't. They said they weren't receiving any money, but the court said that even if you didn't take the salary, the fact that it was a receivable for you, that receivable automatically becomes an asset that you should have disclosed. Now, the history I know of people who have been convicted of corruption, you know, for example, in the United States, there's this famous case of Al Capone. Mm-hmm. Al Capone was accused of murdering and robbing a lot of people and killing a lot of people. And he was not convicted for that.
He was convicted for something very
Yeah, so they found that he was not paying taxes. That's okay, we don't care where the money came from, but did you pay taxes on it? And he wasn't able to show that he paid taxes on it. So this is not unusual for people who commit major crimes to be convicted of something less than what they're accused of in the process of justice. Yeah. So this is, I'm not surprised at all that this happened in this particular case. And they may still find, you know, they're going to file NAB references. And those NAB references may still produce more evidence, more results. Because, and it's not just Nawaz Sharif, it's his entire family. You know, his 3 children, his 2 sons and a daughter, as well as the finance minister, Mr. Ashalda, so they're all under a cloud right now.
Yeah. Samator, first of all, you want to comment what Riyaz says?
Yes, I definitely want to comment, and especially on this case about having some kind of a position, and therefore, and thinking that he was getting salary from there and is denying that. See, what is happening, Misbah, is that if you are living in Pakistan, and if you are traveling on a Pakistani passport, no matter what color it is, I mean, for these people, they have the blue one, the diplomatic one, it is so hard to go to places, because Pakistani passport is not something that's respected. So what happens is that, and you know people, maybe I know people in my family who, in order to travel freely to UAE or Saudi Arabia, they come up with all these schemes of how to have a company registered there and have an aqama so that they can go there anytime. So I think that it was a deal like this, he and his family, that they were doing, which other thousands of Pakistanis are doing, and I don't see any problem with this. So I am kind of surprised, about these little things about, if they would produce, yes, this part, Razak is right, that he should have disclosed this and come out honest that this is what happened, and the reason behind this was that I needed to have some kind of visa so that I can, travel. So that is, my take on this, that it's not only he and his family, but also a lot of people in Pakistan do this.
Yes, there is...
See, he remained on the payroll of this company for an entire year after he became Prime Minister.
Yeah, but he...
And he did not disclose any of it. So that's a major issue.
Actually, he did disclose his aqama there. It is
No,
there.
but he did not disclose that he was on this company's payroll.
Actually, no, okay, that's what I'm asking you, that, this kind of things, I know personally some people who do this thing. And
Yeah, but they're not Prime Ministers of Pakistan.
No, let's not worry about that. But the thing is that, is it a so severe crime that a Prime Minister would be, it could be omission also, really. I could be, when I'm filling paper, I would say, oh, I don't take money, so why I should put it there. It could be just that also.
Yeah, I think that the bigger issue was that the court felt that they were being less than honest, that most of their submissions seemed very hollow, that they didn't seem to have any substance. They even submitted documents that were questionable. So I think there was a general perception from everything that they saw that there was a problem here, that something is fishy here.
Yeah.
And when they found this, they basically used it to convict him. Now, let me say one other thing. The problem in Pakistan is that this is so rare that somebody is caught and somebody is convicted and somebody is removed from office for anything. It just doesn't happen there. Now, in the United States, it does happen frequently. In fact, if you look at the state of Illinois, the last 3 or 4 of their governors have been jailed for corruption. And yet they still continue to do it. I mean, they still haven't learned. I mean, the first governor that was convicted was almost 40 years ago, and then there have been 2 more. And then, in fact, the last governor, his name is Blagojevich, is in jail right now for corruption.
That's true.
Okay? So the problem with these guys is that there's such a rampant culture of corruption that it's very hard to control it, even though they work very hard in the United States to try and manage it. So I think in Pakistan it's going to be very difficult, particularly given the fact that this is being so heavily politicized. That they're not, every time they convict anybody, go after anybody, somebody says, oh, this is a conspiracy, the military is doing it, the establishment is doing it. This is very unfortunate in Pakistan. Let this happen. I mean, after all, Pakistan is a parliamentary democracy. In a parliamentary democracy, the people elect the parliament. They elect the parties that represent them in the parliament. They don't elect the prime minister. This party is still there. The parliament is still in charge.
Yeah.
Parliament has not been dissolved.
That's correct.
And the party members are still there, with the exception of Nawaz Sharif.
Yeah.
They can elect a new prime minister and continue on with it. If they make a big deal of it, and if they create trouble, then democracy could in fact be in trouble if they create any kind of trouble. So I hope that they learn from this. I hope they move on. They basically pick somebody else to. It happens all the time in England, like Cameron goes, Theresa May comes in. This has happened so many times in Italy. They change prime ministers frequently. The ruling party is the same, but the prime minister changes. So let's put this in perspective. Let us not try and create a huge conspiracy out of it. that actually causes serious problems for Pakistani demand.
Turmoil in White House. Yes, what is going on in White House? I mean, the day President Trump came, all the time these troubles, one after the other. It is also media generated or really something?
Yeah, there's hardly a day passes without some big
without any
news
event, exactly,
coming out of there.
Yeah.
First, this recent spate started with the removal, with basically the appointment of Anthony Scaramucci as a communication director. A person who's had absolutely zero experience in communication became a communication director. And then, as a result of it, the person that was the press secretary, he resigned. He was the press secretary. I forget his name now. In fact, it's only been a couple of days and I've forgotten his name.
Well, it's so many things that happening there.
So he's gone.
To remember.
Scaramucci's in, and then yesterday, he tweets out Scaramucci that somebody has leaked my financial records, and then he actually points finger at Reince Priebus, the chief of staff. He actually puts Reince Priebus in the tweet, and then he gives an interview to somebody. I think it was to Ryan Lissa of the New Yorker, and that is a very profanity-laced interview in which he cusses out everybody. Particularly, he goes after two people, Reince Priebus and Steve Bannon. Apparently both of them opposed his appointment, so he's angry with both of them. He's like a Trump-like character.
Okay.
He's the same way as his boss. In fact, some people are calling him Mini-Me.
Mini-Me of Trump.
So now, today the news comes out that Priebus has been fired. Basically, he says he's resigned, but I think it's pretty obvious.
They always resign.
Yeah, he was let go. Because of Scaramucci. Apparently, Trump is siding with Scaramucci. And then the news came out that John Kelly, General John Kelly, the Secretary of Homeland Security, has replaced Priebus. So I don't know how they're going to bring some order to this. This seems to be complete turmoil. At the same time, his agenda is basically not going anywhere. He wanted to, for example, repeal Obamacare. That didn't go through.
Yeah, that didn't go through.
There were several roads. They even brought John McCain to vote. But McCain is the one who actually killed it by not voting for it in the end.
Well, it was a big disappointment.
So there's a lot of stuff going on, and that's kind of interesting.
But
at the same time, it is alarming because yesterday in the morning he just started tweeting that no more gays in the military, transgender.
True, exactly. Suddenly,
and then he says he's already discussing with the generals. That you go to the general, and generals say, "Well, we don't know anything about it."
Yeah.
So it's such a comedy of errors. I mean, it would be funny if it wasn't so worrisome. Because the guy, who can tweet out things like that, could also just, start a war by saying something really dangerous in a tweet.
That's true.
And without telling the generals that he's doing that, and that could actually lead to an unintended conflict. So I think things are not looking good at all.
Not looking good. Samantur, how you see all that?
Yeah, so from where you are living, this is a very democratic point of view, and this is exactly how you see things from where you live. So you are looking at this chaos in White House all the time ever since Trump took office. And also, that democratic point of view is that Trump wants everything his way, and if he thinks that somebody is going astray, then he brings a new guy, and he really wants yes men around him, but if you are living in Trump country, and I am living right here in Trump's country, you see things a different way. Here, the villain is the media. Media is the villain. That it's every little thing that happens in White House, the media is just blowing it out of proportion, and there's this continuing animosity towards Trump, and they want him to fail at any cost. So this is how, I'm just telling you, this is how people are seeing things very differently depending on, their political alliance and their thoughts.
Yeah, that's true. It is different places, but obviously, of course, there are people who are resigning, who are fired. I mean, that is, media is not making it, right?
No, but the thing is that, people resign and people are fired. They have been fired under other administrations too. But it looks like for this administration, at least for people who are sympathetic towards Trump, for them it looks like a media thing, that every little news is a big news in media, and it's all about showing how there's chaos in White House.
Oh, okay. Yes, General Sarat Chand, why he said that?
Yeah, General Sarat Chand is the Vice Chief of Army Staff of India.
He really means it, or he's making fun?
He was actually at a conference for arms manufacturing, where they were talking about developing, indigenous capacity to build weapons. So it was quite relevant. So he was very critical of the situation in India in terms of manufacturing of defense weapons. So, for example, he said there is little or no research and development in the defense production area. They do not even have the capability of absorbing the industry through transfer of technology. And in some cases, they have even failed to assemble products that have been imported from abroad. So it's a pretty serious situation. There was another story I read which said that they made rifles in India for the military, and those rifles failed to fire.
Oh.
It's pretty bad. I mean, a rifle is such a basic weapon, that every soldier carries. And if they get jammed and they don't work in the field, that's a serious problem. And then he went on to say, I would even go to the extent of saying that Pakistan probably has a better industrial base as far as defense production is concerned than our country. In fact, they export defense equipment abroad definitely more than what we're doing. So you know that just yesterday there was a deal signed by Pakistan to sell 10 Super Mushak trainer jets to the Azerbaijan Air Force. Before that, they signed a deal to sell a bunch of them to Nigeria. So there's like a dozen countries that are currently using Mushak and Super Mushak trainer aircraft from Pakistan. Turkey is another country that uses them. And as you know, that during the Sri Lankan Civil War, when India refused to supply weapons to Sri Lanka, they came to Pakistan. Pakistan actually helped them provide those. Now, another story similar on the same line that came out in Forbes magazine is that Prime Minister Modi launched this Make in India program with a lot of fanfare in 2014 after taking office. So it's been 3 years, and he says there's very little that has happened, and the initiative has basically failed to take off. So those are the kinds of news that are coming out of India.
Samantur, going back to General Sarat Chand, do you think that, I remember during the first Iraq war, like Americans used to talk about, the American media used to talk about, even some experts used to talk about readiness of Iraqi army, and they show, okay, their bombs can shoot that much and this. So basically the idea was that to just make your enemy in this situation that they will feel that they are big, and then if there is a war or a skirmish, then they will have some kind of surprises there. Do you think it is something like that, or it is really they mean it when they talk like that?
Yeah, no,
and please don't forget something.
Like
Samantur, may I interrupt you? Please don't forget another statement from the Army Chief some days ago, in which he was kind of talking about the readiness of their military, and he was not happy about it, that the readiness is not there. Please go ahead.
So right now, after these two countries have become nuclear powers, there is almost no chance of having a conventional war, because anytime there would be a conventional war, it will very quickly escalate into something very dreadful, and nobody wants to go there. But I think that this guy, Chand, I think he was making a comment like how we make, for example, at one point somebody was saying that, oh, we have such bad water here, just like, the people probably in Africa have better water. So it is not meant to be in a good way of saying about Africa. It's almost like saying that at the very bottom of this there is Africa, and then even they have better water. So I think that comment was probably made in that context, and he also used the word probably before this. But somehow this competition going on between India and Pakistan, where any news of this kind of congratulatory from the congratulation from the other side is really blown up. And I don't think, people like me, they are not too happy about this kind of competition in the warfare, in the military. I wish we could compete more in education, in healthcare, in just better governance and providing better things to the citizens.
Yes, you have to add something?
Yeah, I think the issue is one of self-reliance. What happens is if you can build more of this stuff, then you save the money you need to buy from abroad. Right now, the reason India is the biggest importer of weapons on the world market, number one in the world market, is because they cannot manufacture much of it. If they could build it themselves, like the Chinese have a much bigger budget and they have a lot more equipment, but the Chinese actually do manufacture this stuff themselves. Indians don't. So it's just a matter of what kind of an industrial base are you developing, what can you do for yourself. And see, one of the things for any country to be able to secure their defenses, if you're dependent on foreign countries to buy your weapons, it is hard to be really independent. You need to be able to depend on your own resources. That's why the Americans build all their own weapons.
That's true.
Israelis try and build most of their weapons. The Russians try and build most of their, they don't buy from other countries. And that's a simple reason that self-reliance in this area is particularly crucial because it deals with national security.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Riaz. Thank you, Samantur. And we will be back next week, same time, same channel. This is your host, Ms. Bazan, Viewpoint from Overseas. Keep watching Viewpoint from Overseas.